Hello, my name is Kyle Fisk, and this is the presentation of my final project named Card Manager. The purpose of this application is to provide a convenient way for cards to be cataloged and to provide the users of the application a quick way to look through and search their card inventory. Also, the application allows users to search for and connect with other users of the app. They can then trade cards from within the app. The requirements process for this project was accomplished during the course Systems Analysis and Design. I created and refined context and database diagrams. I utilized UXPin to create a prototype app, which is a really handy thing to be able to do to kind of flesh out what your site or application is going to look like before you start making it. And you could show potential clients. I also created bucks or business use cases, which allowed me to create a list of user stories, which ultimately defined the work of the program. Once all of these user stories were created, I transferred those over to Trello. I used Trello to track the progress and the requirements for the project. I added all the user stories created during the requirements process, which defined the work that I needed to accomplish. I also added to this as I was developing, which I found to be invaluable for keeping myself on track and organized. When I would begin working on the project after being away, Trello allowed me to pick up where I had left off without having to use much time figuring out where that was. And that saved a lot of time. I also found the section that Andy filled out to be useful in keeping track of what was gone over in the meetings and remaining focused on the tasks discussed during the meetings. I utilized multiple languages and technologies while creating my final project. The programming languages I used to build the site were PHP, SQL, HTML, and CSS. I also used Bootstrap, which is a framework for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I implemented it right away when I started creating the project, and I think this saved me a lot of time developing the front-end side, because being responsive is built into it, and it's effortlessly accomplished. Bootstrap also makes utilizing JavaScript very easy as well, adding different designs to elements and actions to elements. Next is MySQL, which is an open source relational database management system, which I used to store all the user information data along with the deck and card information. I used Apache NetBeans to write and structure all of my code. Apache NetBeans is an open source integrated development environment, or an IDE. I also used GitHub to store, manage, and log changes to my program's source code. I would push the files along with the description of what was added or modified to the code after each requirement was fulfilled in Trello. So this is the index of my project, just the landing page that you would go to. Here you would click in the login button. It would pop up this modal, which gives you the options to sign in or register a new user. At which point it would log you in and bring you to your homepage. I will show the responsiveness that Bootstrap provides. Basically brings it from being as large as you want and shrinks everything down to where you need it to be in responsive on a mobile environment. Some of the options for the user are going to be a deck option, which you can create or manage your decks. Friends, you can find friends, view friend requests. And trades, proposed trades, incoming trades, and a trade history. Right now, we'll create a deck. Which once you do that, it will bring you into your list of decks, which gives you all of the options for each individual deck. You can delete the deck. You can edit the deck, which is editing the name or description. You can view cards in your deck, or you can add cards to the deck. When you choose to add cards, it will bring up a list of all the cards. And if you hover over a card, it'll show its attributes. And there's also a pagination included, so you can scroll through all the different pages. Right now I have it set up, I believe, to show 10 cards per page. And once you find whatever card you're looking for, you can just add it to your deck and it'll bring it to your deck, which gives you the option to then remove it, or you can view its attributes. Or one other option when you're adding is you can search. Which will then bring up all the searched cards. Next, you can find friends. You can view a list of all the users that are registered on the application and send each of them a friend request. And when someone sends you a friend request, you can view all of those in the View Friend Request tab. And you have the option to accept or deny. And when you accept, it'll bring you to your friend page and show all of your accepted friends. At which point you can choose to remove your friends or view their decks. At which point, when you're viewing a deck, a friend's deck, you can initiate a card trade. So here, we'll initiate a trade for this Pikachu. At which point it brings you to the card trade page, which you then find a card in your deck that you want to trade for. So you search through your cards, find the one you want to trade, which brings you back to your card trade table, and you have the option at that point to pick another card to trade or propose the trade. Here is a list of all the proposed trades that you have currently that haven't been accepted or denied. And you can view that trade. You can cancel the trade at that point. Here I will show some of the admin abilities. So when logged in as an administrator, you get this extra tab which allows you to view all the users, which you can edit their information and save them. You can also deactivate the users so they're no longer shown to any other user. Reactivate. You can do any of the actions required on the deck. You can delete, edit, add cards, view the cards, and remove the cards from each individual deck as needed. Some of the lessons that I learned going through creating the project, I feel that going through the requirements process greatly reduced the time required to develop the app, because by completing this process, you are explicitly defining the intention of the program. Because of this defined intention, when you do start coding, you will have less wasted time unintentionally creating things that may end up being irrelevant or needing to be improved upon later because of undiscovered requirements. The importance of this was apparent after I had created my database, and I found it to be inadequate for the requirements app. I found that I had to add quite a few more tables than I had initially anticipated, and I would have saved time in the long run had I been more thorough when I was going through the requirements process. If I had to start over, I would have implemented the API sooner, because it would have greatly reduced the code I would have written when dealing with the card, deck, and trade objects. Additionally, once the API was fully implemented, two tables in my database, card and card attribute, became unnecessary, and all I needed to store was the card ID when a card was added to a deck in the card deck table, or when a card was involved in a trade in the trade cards table. I also would not have used so many modals in my project, because I found late in development that when I load a page that contains many objects that utilize a modal to display information, like a list of trade objects, because each modal is loaded with the page, then hidden until a click event occurs. Depending on the number of objects, the loading times can become noticeably increased. On a large scale, I think this would probably cause a lot of issues. Thank you.